Woohoo! Let me check the tubes.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? We're getting ready for a Wednesday Linuxy experience. Yes, we are. We got dang small Linux has returned from the grave. We're going to be burying data bits and source code inside of mountains because that's how you do it. Playing around with firewire and pipewire, actually just conducting a scientific experiment. And of course, for you hipsters out there, we're bringing back the iPod, but this time it's going to be open source. Sounds like a plan. Now let me pop out some chats and do the social media thing.
Yeah. I am checking. Yep, we are live on YouTube. I see it.
Yes, we are.
Okay. Give that a like and then do a pop out.
Now, if only the pop-out chat size was the same for YouTube and Twitch.
I know. It is. You have to scale it. And
The craziest one I've seen, which I'm sure a lot of people haven't seen because it requires going over to Kick and popping out your chat. But, you know, I wanted to get that set up. And when you pop out the chat for Kick, everybody, it scales the entire vertical length of your monitor. Top to bottom.
Yeah.
Top to bottom. It is like, what is going on here? And it's not wide either. It's like a little narrow strip. And I'm like, oh, man. All right. I'm about ready.
Thank you, KSMB2, for the follow.
MECFS. MECFS. That doesn't sound fun.
Oh, hi, Lucy Llewellyn. Oh, I'm glad you joined us. Good to see you, and thank you for the follow.
Where are we at? Oh, right, social media. Squirrel. We'll get this together, everybody. How's everybody doing? If you didn't catch right at the beginning, we got a bunch of stuff to talk about, especially tiny Linuxes. They're no longer tiny. Tiny Linuxes, what passes for a tiny Linux now is what used to be full-blown Linux on a disk.
Yes, exactly.
We're going to be talking about that in a minute. Okay, let me do it. Give that a little retweet and mass. No, I saw a thing this morning on the news. Apparently, Intel is building a plant in Ohio, and they're moving some fab equipment around. It's going to be shutting down all types of roads. Like, that's wild. I didn't know they were building some fab space, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah. I actually just read an article from Intel talking about that about a day or two ago.
Well, it was a news announcement this morning.
Yeah.
That's going down. And it's a thing that's happening. And like, well, that's like, if you were wondering, you happen to be in the Ohio area and you're like, why are the traffic's all backed up in there? Intel, blame Intel. Go buy an AMD CPU.
It was Ryan Shrout that I heard that from. He was talking about it. Yeah.
I remember when Ryan worked at Intel.
Yeah.
He's been gone from Intel for a minute.
So sorry about chronic fatigue syndrome. Yeah, I'm dealing with some medical things myself. It's not fun. But as long as you're okay and taking your medicine, that will help a lot.
LWDW. For talking about Linux bits. All right, there we go. Hey, we've done that. Also, just in time for no one to really care, Blue Sky has opened up public.
Yes, I noticed that.
1 year to the date. So I guess now maybe we can finally see just like what happens with Blue Sky.
Yeah. Because we've just been waiting. It's been kind of stagnant.
Yeah, I've been sitting around with it. Like, I've been trying to use it. It's a lot of discovery. Not a lot of my engineering and Linux peeps up on there that I've run across. I guess I should say, I've like set up, because they have list on Blue Sky, and I've set up Linux open source like you do on any social network, right?
Yeah.
And I stick all that together, and I'm just not seeing the post come fly through. On Mastodon, you set up the same thing, right? Linux, open source, gaming, whatever. And I'm seeing more growth on Mastodon, really.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Mastodon. I've been getting a lot of hits on Threads, too, lately.
I don't use Facebook.
Yeah. But the Raspberry Pi people are on Threads.
I don't care.
Yeah, but they leave us nice comments on LWDW when I do my posts.
That's nice. Let them. Tell them to start using Mastodon. All right.
Yep, I have to be on all the things. I have no choice.
Jill's going to explain social media too.
Well, it's because I'm a social media manager for the Destination Linux.
Jill, I've been social media manager for Linux Game Fest for 13 years, man. I know a thing or two now. Keep that in mind.
No, I know, Vin. I was just saying I have to be on Facebook,
That's why I was joking
Instagram.
with you, Jill. That's why I was joking with you.
Okay.
Why Jill's going to explain social media
you're on
to me.
Facebook, so hey, you got Linux Gamecast.
Our
on
website is.
Yeah.
I'm not. Yeah, it's Wednesday already. It's already the middle of the week, man. This week's kind of flying by. I've been trying to get a couple things knocked out, and fate has been conspiring against me all week. I'm going to try to sell everybody on, I don't know exactly how I'm going to pitch this video. I'm working with a Magewell USB capture card, and it's really expensive.
Yeah.
And I was going to take the entire hit with it of like, man, this thing's so expensive. I don't know. Maybe you shouldn't want to bother with it. Just kind of be like, why would you ever get this? And I'm playing around with it. I'm like, I've had a shifted narrative to like, this thing's expensive, it's silly, it's overpriced, to like, that's why this is so expensive. Now I understand. I get it. I get it. I'm not going to recommend running out and buying
software.
it. But the cost, the expense of it is justified, and it's not silly. It's not overpriced just to be overpriced when you run into products like that, right?
Yeah. Absolutely, it's worth it.
That's just being expensive to be expensive. And a Supreme t-shirt, $100, whatever, white t-shirt with the word Supreme on it. I'm like, that's just being expensive to be expensive. This is not that. Not that at all. Maybe a little bit.
Cool. Aw, Steve's very own. Yes. I have been the social media manager for Destination Linux and the Text Digital Network since I started almost 4 years ago. So that it's been a lot of fun. I love doing it too. I like being on all the things, but it is a lot of work. Oh, and cousin Lisa, welcome again. I'm so happy you're catching our YouTube night live stream now that we're on YouTube again. It's nice. Hi, Arthurian. Yeah, so hopefully Blue Sky will get some traction. I'm hoping. Hi, Basil. How you doing?
Can't tell you what's doing it. You're too cool for Blue Sky. I don't know what it is, man.
Yeah.
Never heard of it, man.
Yeah, so Blue Sky is a knockoff to Twitter. And it's been around for quite a bit, but it's been in beta and invite only.
I wouldn't call Blue Sky a knockoff to Twitter. The main reason I wouldn't call Blue Sky a knockoff Twitter is because it was created by Jack Dorsey.
Yeah.
The guy who made Twitter.
Yeah. This is true, but it is a little different.
You know, can you really
Threads.
knock off your own thing?
Yeah, this is true. This is true. But it does have to be different, of course, so he doesn't violate any licenses.
It boils down to, if you create one thing and you create another thing, those two things are probably going to be very similar.
Yeah.
Just by the nature of the beast, right?
Yeah. But yeah, I am hoping that it does kind of take off. It's nice and clean and light, and it's like original Twitter. So.
Yet, Dak. Yet. It'll be interesting to see what they do with it.
Oh, hi, Steve husband. I got the two Steves in the house. Hi, Nemo, DeCresney.
It's been kind of interesting to watch. Like, the whole federated thing. I like the idea. Like, but you also got to balance it out. Like, let's be honest, social media as a whole is just cancer for us. Like, we're not designed to deal with social media like up to date all the time, because like we can't help ourselves. Like, I guess it just depends on how you want to treat it.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, there's plenty of room for everything. I'm waiting for the next thing, though, man. We've when it comes to social media, we've been stuck in a rut for 15 years. It's just different. For me, it started, the first thing that I was on that I would really consider to be social media, everybody, is MySpace.
Yeah.
And I kind of put that off. Then I got on, you know what? I don't know if my timeline's correct. Well, it depends on how you want to measure it, because I was on the Facebook in university before it went public.
Yeah.
We were on there, and but I never, you signed up for it. It was like a curiosity thing. It wasn't, there was just some rando site. It wasn't Facebook all-encompassing. And MySpace was interesting because when MySpace launched, it was called MySpace, a place for bands.
Yeah.
Like, awesome. Let's go find some music, find some bands, local shows. And then it turned into what MySpace turned into, which was a fascinating experience. I liked the ability. They need to bring that back, though. Because one thing you could do on Facebook was add HTML elements to your profile page.
Oh, yeah.
So you could go to these MIDI music glitter doom pages that would just take your PC down.
Yeah.
Completely. It wouldn't survive. And and we're talking like single cores, man. We didn't have dual cores. Core 2 Duo didn't exist at the time. And it could be miserable. Like I had friends that I would not visit their MySpace page because it would mess up my browser.
Yeah.
And that rolled on. Then Facebook, I messed around with Facebook for a minute because like MySpace started getting weird. Then I think that was about it. After that, through this entire time, like I've always had my account on Hacker News and like Reddit. I got like, what? How old is my Reddit account now? 17 years old?
Yeah.
And but then we get the Twitters and like the variants, the Instagrams, Snapchats, TikTok. It's just iterations of the same thing. I want something different, something new, something be like, that's different. Like,
I want Google Plus back.
That would be nice. Something like
it's more like the conversations that you have on Mastodon.
Mm-hmm.
They're much. It's just more intimate. It's such a nice platform.
Well, I like being around smart people.
Yeah, and I like being able to have circles for different conversations. And that was really, really nice. And that's how I started talking to you and Jordan and Pedro. That was the first place I started.
We were on Google Plus like early.
Yeah.
Like
And that's why I got on Google Plus, because of Linux Gamecast. And yeah. So it was all about the Google Plus and then IRC when we were live.
Google Plus was, if you weren't there at the time, it brought a lot of people together with the like same interest, like in the same Venn diagram.
Create the circles.
A lot of overlap and, photography people. Like it wasn't a place to scream inane blatantly just like into the ether like people do now, like
Yeah.
or like, and there wasn't people posting like, "Hey, I did an extraordinarily basic thing expected of me as a human being.
know.
I want credit for it, so I'm going to post about it online." And I'm like, okay, I don't care.
There weren't the number of trolls because it was all kind of smart people talking to each other.
It was also awesome. Moderated.
Yeah, it was moderated. And I just having the circles to be able to moderate was yourself. You could moderate it yourself.
Let me tell you, one of the inventions from Google Plus that finally has made it into YouTube. That's been a minute now, but it was not in YouTube for a long time. Actually, you can do it it's on Twitter now too, but it started in Google Plus, was the ability to mute somebody.
Yeah.
Now, a mute's different than blocking or a ban, because a mute, they never know.
Yeah, they don't know. Yeah.
They just keep on tippy-tapping and being, 40-year-old edgelords on their keyboards and just giving you the business. But the only person who ever sees it's them. And they have no way of knowing unless they log into a different account and go, wait a minute, because to them, their comments show up and they're like, yeah, I'm really telling this person on the internet with my keyboard, I'm going to hurt their fifi. And I'm like, whatever. You just mute. And that was brilliant on Google Plus. And now that's on YouTube. I'll tell you right now, like, I've never blocked anybody outside of bots, right? Like obvious spam bots and stuff like that. I block and report them on YouTube. And, but I mute people. Like, if you just show up in the comment section just to start talking trash, like, I just mute you. Just mute you. I don't think twice about it. Doesn't bother me. I'm just like, I'm not talking about like somebody coming at you because I like that. That's good for the show. I like using that. We have an entire segment on Saturday called Hate Mail for, bring it.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about just like inane rambling. I'm like, what are you doing? Go away.
Oh, looks like we have both Basils
we got
in
both
the
Basils.
house. Yeah.
Basil, we have Basil and Basil.
Yeah. Basil and Basil.
Canonically, Basil X is Basil and Basil _ is Basil. So don't get them confused.
Oh, and welcome, Dr. Frank, to our live stream on YouTube. Basil and Basil touch. What's gonna happen?
It's embezzlement.
Yeah, embezzlement.
Oh no, man! Like, that's a conversation, dude.
Trash talking.
We're talking like stuff like, I don't like the look of your face. And like, me either, but okay. Like, what? Like, I ain't got time for that, man. Like, if you got a criticism, let's hear a criticism. Like, bring it. It's dumb stuff like that. I don't do it a lot.
Hi, Time Scroll. How you doing?
Actually caught us live for once. Yeah. We're pretty stealthy. Pretty stealthy when we go live. You never find that. Or like Aqua Teen Hunger Force was on Adult Swim for like the mid-aughts, where they just randomly aired the show whenever they felt like it. It's one of the reasons I quit watching Aqua Teen Hunger Force, because you couldn't find it on remember guides on TVs? Remember when we had to watch TV?
Mm-hmm.
To watch things, we had to like make time in our day to watch a thing when it came on.
Yep.
How weird is that?
I had a schedule almost every night of something I wanted to watch, and I had to be home in time or done with my homework way back in the day.
As a broke college student, I bought a secondhand TiVo and I hacked it. I built an RS-232 so I could, telnet into it and flip that little container bit so it would start working. But the problem with moving the shows around all the time, it wasn't smart enough at the time to know to record. It couldn't find it. A TiVo could say, hey, this show at this hour, hey, I'll record it. But if they moved it on a different day in a different hour, you couldn't record it.
Yeah. So
that is my backstory of why I quit watching Aqua Teen Hunger Force. There you go. The TiVo problem? No. TiVo was amazing. TiVo was a strange thing. It sounds so weird to talk to somebody. First, they made the coolest noises in the world. When you were pausing and unpause. But being able to pause live TV was something that people would come over to your house just to see. Like, wait, what? I'm like, yeah, watch.
Yeah, so cool.
It's strange thinking about it now because it's just omnipresent in our lives.
Yeah,
Tap the play
I know.
button.
It's just, we take it for granted.
Right. And we don't even pause stuff now. It's like, oh, I'll come back and we watch everything on demand.
On demand. It's really cool.
I say this as I'm doing a live show. I get the irony. It's not lost on me. Oh, man. TVization? Okay, what is what? I don't know. That's a block of text. TLDR? Oh, man. Yeah. Adult Swim had a thing, man. Like, Adult Swim, you know what? Maybe it might be an age thing. I don't know. Like, my favorite... Okay, no. It's not necessarily an age. It's more of a coming of age thing. When I was in university and I moved over here, like Adult Swim at night during the week while I was, getting off work at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning and still trying to do studies. Like that's what I had on in the background. So that's like the special, feel good memory, C-Lab and stuff like that. The Brack,
Oh, yeah.
Space Ghost Coast to Coast.
Space Ghost. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, C-Lab was dope. All right, I think I got everything together. Do you need to go grab a drink or anything?
Yes, I will be right back.
And we will get underway. Oh, I got a stack of stuff I got to get caught up on. I spent too much time. Making charts. You ever do that? Do you ever just get tied into a project? That's not the right way to... Here, let me tell you the right way to phrase this. Front-loading the work. But sometimes when you're front-loading the work, it's the whole thing of like, okay, do I want to spend a day making a script so I never have to do this thing again? Or do I just spend... the 2 minutes it takes to do this thing. It's that game, right? But sometimes when you're making that script, feature creep shows up. And that basic little script that was going to take 1 day, well, you find yourself on like day 3. And now it does so much more. Yak shaving? Oh, yeah. It's kind of where I ended up with this because, I'm working a lot on the interfacing Linux side, just getting all the back-end stuff tied up. Because I always front-load websites. I don't build the website for what it is. I build the website where it could potentially be. That's how come Linux Gamecast survives being online to this day. And I plan in the future to be doing a lot of benchmarking, not necessarily audio interfaces, maybe some other stuff, but I want that ability there, right? I hate making benchmark graphs. Benchmark graphs suck. And the way I've been doing benchmark graphs is I have no shame in it. I go to metachart.org and manually key this thing. And the problem with Metachart is like the site's broken, so I can't create an account to save any of my data. So I'm like manually keying this stuff in every time. And I feel like a caveman doing that. And I'm like, we should be able to like automatically like have database driven charts that I can reference and like stick together and all the other fun things, right? Imagine if Phronix that wasn't clickbait spam stuff, that actually benchmarked things that you were interested in. That'd be a horrible idea, wouldn't it, Dak? Let's not do that. Don't worry, I was going to do that, but Dak convinced me otherwise. We're not going to do that now. So at the end of the day, what you end up with is this. This is my charting system. Regular, ordinary. Oh no, that's dynamic. It does dances, but hey, I'm looking at round trip latency. Let's say I want to know the round trip latency, but only at buffer size 256 and 64 and 512, or maybe the other way around. I want to key that in. Oh. I'm unreasonably proud of getting all that working correctly. It's a little bit super fancy, but it's very expandable. It's got strong bones, is what I'm getting across. the foundation's solid and it's easy to build off that and convenient. It gets the job done. It took me forever to find a way to... Graphs are weird, man. Like when you want to make them information dense, it's like, well, I could make a bunch of different graphs to do that. I'm like, no, let's spend an afternoon seeing how we can get all that on one page. What is a fully laden swallow? I don't know, Steve. I don't watch enough porn to answer that question. You tell me. Airspeed velocity and the Holy Grail, kids. It's a joke. Google it. All right. Ryan, what is the bandwidth? What's the current thing right now? A Pigeon with an SD card, right? What is the bandwidth of a Pigeon with a 1 terabyte? What is the throughput of a Pigeon with a 1 terabyte micro SD card on it? Which is fun. I'm glad that analogy is carried on over time because, you know, it used to be, what is the bandwidth of a station wagon filled with backup tapes? Kind of crazy. Want me to find that? I don't know what you're talking about. Right. We got everything together. I'm not touching that even. I want to buy a new control interface, but I'm not. I do. There's one for $299 right now. It's staring at me, and it's used, and it's the one I want, and I'm like,
okay. You should just get it then.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that. Not in my head. I could just buy it. It wouldn't bother me. It wouldn't financially harm me at all. I wouldn't think twice about it. But there's a part of my brain. We talked about this on Saturday. It's going to be like, you could have spent that money here, or you could have donated that money there.
Yeah.
And that part of my brain's not going to shut up for 6 months. So it's always proportional to how much I'm going to spend on something versus how long it's going to take before I can actually look at it and not go, ugh. Which is always a fun thing. That is my curse. Call it extreme fiscal responsibility.
Yeah.
But I still might buy it. I don't know.
Yeah.
See where we're at
you
right now.
gotta rationalize it,
Dude,
man.
you gotta have that executive conversation with that part of your brain. You gotta work with it. You know, I'm 40 years old, man. I know how to fight this guy stuck up here that won't spend any money. I'm like, listen, we can do this and this and this. Like, one of the things I'm thinking about doing is bringing back the Sunday streams.
Oh, okay.
But I'm trying to work out a system, and it'll be for interfacing Linux. You know, it's not going to be like, why is there a audio video editing stream on Linux Gamecast, right?
Yeah.
So it'll be on the interfacing Linux channel. But like, what I want is to be able to basically get my entire Sunday that somebody could sit and watch and be informed by, you know, not just like a camera in the room, like watching me, because then you're going to be the people that's like, I want to watch somebody sitting around. And you're like, well, no, it's cool, man. But to be able to show the process and walk through it from beginning to end. And that's a technical challenge. It is.
Yeah, especially when you're doing it all day, like you did with the DaVinci Resolve. You were just editing the LGCs and
that's nice. That's the easy part. You're the other 4.5 hours I'm in Reaper before I even get there.
Yeah. Oh wow.
That's yeah. And we got then we got the whole writing part.
Yep.
Where you got to do that, and the distribution parts, and it's my Sundays usually start at like 7:45, 8. I try to get started by 8 in the morning, and I'm usually done by if everything's good. If everything's good and YouTube doesn't YouTube on me, I can be done by 8:30, 9 p.m. It's a whole day, man. And the thing is, once you get done doing stuff like that, you're ready to do something else. You're just wound up. Like, it's a fun time. All right. Let me go grab a cup of tea, and we're going to jump into this.
Okay.
And do a thing stuff.
Yes. Yay! Aw, thank you to all the new people joining in. This is awesome. And to our regulars, I got Steve Husband and Steve's very own in almost every week now. It's awesome. Yeah, Steve's very own. One of these days I need to get up early so I can hop on your show. I watch the videos later, and it is so much fun to be in live chat. Oh boy. Yeah, that's the thing. And I'm not a morning person anymore like I used to be. Well, I never really was, but I had to be when I was teaching. But now I'm retired from that. So now I'm podcasting, but I podcast in the afternoons and evenings. So that fits my schedule. Although sometimes I have to get up early Sunday morning to record a DL now and again. And Mir just waking up. Yeah, Mir, do you have sun in your neck of the woods? We have the sunshine. It's so nice. But it is supposed to rain again this afternoon, I guess. It's the last of it. Tomorrow, they had said it might continue to tomorrow, but our weather report says we're going to have sun tomorrow. It's nice. Oh, okay. We got nice sun with periods of, cloudiness, but right now I got sun. Yeah, we sure did. We didn't, have any damage here in the where I'm at, but in the foothills they did, and if you're right at the coast, you did. I'm a little higher up, which is really nice. I'm in a good spot, so we don't get flooding here. But I know we did have a tree come down a block away, and that was it. But that was an old tree of which the city was going to take down, which is ironic. So they were in the process of taking down a bunch of these a certain variety of tree, and we're just about ready to get to that one, but it fell over on its own. Yeah, no one was hurt or anything, but a lot of the communities around us in the foothills, they got a whopping. Yeah, sometimes where I'm at here at the beach, we actually get more rain than elsewhere, but this time it was the reverse. They got more rain on the foothills. Oh, yeah, Mir. Oh, yeah, Mir. I saw that. Yeah, yesterday you posted that. Yeah, that was really deep. That was like, that was basically a huge river at that point. But yeah, it was one of the biggest. It was the 10th strongest storm we've had here in LA. Now I've been through worse. There was a really big one in the 90s that flooded the campus that I was working at, and it was flooded 4 or 5 feet of water, and I had to have the police come get me out. They escorted me off campus, and then I couldn't. This has been years and years ago when I was teaching, and I was going to take the bus home, and I was trying to get a hold of all my family, and none of them were around because they were all stuck in the water somewhere, from the floods, because that was a storm that just happened all of a sudden out of middle of nowhere. We didn't know it was coming. So people were, driving to and from work and everything and got stuck. And so I was on my campus and it got flooded, and I was at the radio station doing a show, and it turned out that the police headquarters got flooded because it was in the basement of a building. And so they immediately came to the radio station, and I was doing emergency broadcasts for the flooding on campus and the surrounding areas for the police. And that was awesome. So awesome to be able to help them. And they were so grateful. I mean, you can imagine all of a sudden the called station turned out to be the emergency broadcast for the police department. So, and we got a big article in the local LA Times and everything. It was really cool. So I was there for like 10 hours doing that. And so the campus was flooded, and the chief of police had to escort me off the campus, but I couldn't get a hold of anyone to pick me up because everyone was all stuck. We're stuck in, in the streets that were flooded. And so I had to take the bus, and the bus driver pulls up. I'm drenched. I'm just absolutely drenched. And the water was so high, the water rushes into the bus. And so I'm the only one getting on this bus, and I got on the bus, and the nice bus driver said, "Ma'am, you're my only customer all day today. I'm going to take you home to your house because it's safer." And, they normally can't do stuff like that with their passengers, but this was a unique situation, and it was an emergency. So the nice Torrance Transit driver drove me right to the front of my house. That was a day. Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, that was really nice. And we talked about it for years. I would frequently have the same bus drivers, and we talked about it for years. You remember when the buses got flooded? Everything was flooded. Yeah, that was really cool. Yeah, they don't normally do that, but they had decommissioned all the of course, told all the buses to stop because no one was using them. And this was the last bus on that route. And he says, "Ma'am, I'm just going to take you home." It's safer. So never in my lifetime had I ever had that happen. Yeah, it was so cool. And I thanked the bus drivers. I called Torrance Transit and thanked them for their service. And they said, "Oh, you were the girl that was on the bus that we took home." So that was cool. That was the worst storm that I have been through here in Los Angeles. It was cool because I really got to know everyone in the police department, and whenever we had a big storm, they'd come to us at the radio station. It was a big deal.
What are we talking about?
Oh, the biggest storm I can remember here in Los Angeles when I was a student.
Weather.
No, actually, I was teaching at that point on college campus.
Waiting for a snowstorm in Halifax.
Yeah, it was one of those freak storms that we didn't know was coming. So
you had to wait out for like 3 hours in the snow, Scott?
Oh boy.
That doesn't sound fun. All right. So we're about lined up, about ready
Snowstorm.
to go. 3 hours in the snow. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
You got me there. I've never walked 3 hours in the snow.
Yeah. No. Scott, if you have kids, you have that story to tell. That's the big joke of all the parents. I had to walk, 6 hours in the snow to get to school. and it was true, actually, from my grandmother.
All right. Yeah, it's about. Yeah, I've never. That's the longest I've ever had.
Yeah, I knew you did, Scott. It was just so funny. It was timely.
You're not a good idea, it's not. Like, I've just, like, never run out of petrol before, but as long as I ever had to, like, not like a big, well, all right, if you want to go, like, all the way when I was a teenager, man, like, I had to push my motorbike. My motorbike broke down, and we didn't have mobile phones or anything.
Yeah.
So I pushed that thing down the side of M4 for quite a ways.
Oh.
To get back, well, I found the shop, and we got it back up and running. It was the, I couldn't change gears.
Oh.
And they fixed it. It was an easy fix. I just didn't have any tools on me. You know, I was a dumb teenager.
Yeah.
And outside of that, that wasn't very long, but it felt longer when you're pushing a motorcycle.
Yeah, I bet. About how long was it? You had to walk.
Oh, it couldn't have been more than like maybe 5 or 6 kilometers.
Oh, okay.
You know, a couple of miles. A couple of miles pushing, a couple of pounds.
Yeah.
But then again, I was a teenager. I didn't know any better. I was like, whatever. Like, there was no option B. You know, there wasn't like calling anyone or maybe even trying to hitchhike. And you don't hitchhike on the motorway anyway. All right. I think we're good. We can go ahead and we can get to it, everybody. We can do a show. I think we've got everything plugged in, ready to go. Make a noise. Okay. Now, if we're talking close calls, that's different. I got a bridge. It's not even a bridge story, man. I had bought a 944 85-2, and I was trying to get it back to my apartment at the time because I bought it with known problems. And it started spitting and sputtering, pulling up to a bridge. And one of the problems was the fuel gauge was off. I just kind of assumed how much it had in it. But I knew that there was a station on the other side of that bridge. And I did the thing. I was like, fine, maybe I won't get stuck on this bridge. And I spit and sputtered, got to the top, pushed in the clutch, coasted into the station. It worked. That's probably the coolest thing I've done, like, vehicle-wise. I'm like, yes, I didn't have power steering either. Which was interesting, but fortunately it was like power assist, rack and pinion with power assist, so it wasn't like trying to steer a modern car with nothing, no. But we made it. All right, cool, everybody. Let's record a Linux Weekly, Daily Wednesdays.
Oh, okay.
We'll tap the stop button on that, and pull up our outro music. Get our tea, get our drinks, and hit our record button to get everything recording. Bounce up to the right show, and hey everyone, welcome back to Linux Weekly, Daily Wednesdays, where we sit back, relax, take that midweek break, talk about some of the fun things going on in the world of Linux and open source. I'm Vince Stone, joined every week by Jill Bryant, and everybody watching us live. Just doing a little pre-show, talking about the weather, talking about walking 3 miles in the snow, talking about coasting over bridges into petrol stations. That's what you're missing out on.
Yes.
That's what you're missing. Go back and check out the Live and Uncut series if you're a patron. We got that in podcast format. Also, we got a YouTube channel with all of our uncut stuff on it. Comes out a week later. Doesn't cost anything. Put up some ads. Go put it in your ears or in your eyes, however you want to do it. I realized something earlier this week.
What then?
It was kind of a dark time, Jill Bryant. I read a thing on Reddit where like there was a teacher. He's like, man, these kids do not know how to use computers. It's rough. We're not getting the funding to have like real computer classes anymore. And I'm like, it can't be that bad. I text a couple of friends. I got a couple of friends in education. I'm like, how bad is it? And it's like, oh, they dumb. What a verbatim. What are oh, they dumb.
Oh boy.
Like we're just skipping out on this basic education of like, oh, well, they know how to use an iPad. Clearly they know how to use a computer. No, they don't.
Yeah. I
Nah,
know. Yeah.
they don't. And, I've run into that with the, upcoming generation of like when I say, even like with Linux, even if you got the fortitude to sit down, I'm putting my own, you're doing better than a lot of people if you're sitting there. I don't care what operating system you're installing. If you're like, I'm going to install my own operating system. Even if you're
Yeah.
reinstalling Windows, we can still hang out because that takes more
Yes.
than. And, but I run into this on Linux when I say, and I brought it up on the show. I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but it's a real thing. You're going to need to compile this. And they go, whoa, wait, hey, no. You mean click on a button, right? And I'm like, no, we're going to set up a build environment. Like, not happening on my watch. No, sir. Maybe a flat pack. I'm like, can't do a flat pack. Going to have to build something. You're like, yeah, not going to be able to do that. That's just, no, Which you rewind just a decade ago, and I was like, you just did that. You just did that if you ran Linux. You didn't think twice. Like, why do we say all the time, which might be to really confuse some people when I say, yeah, just pull the get, clone the get and build it. I'm like, wait, what? Moonspeak?
Yeah.
I don't understand that. Had somebody ask that this week. This week, we're on Wednesday, so it might have been Monday or Tuesday, unless I've invented some extra days in there. Because I did the thing on, what do we play? Lethal Company, and I made a video about how to get the mods installed. Somebody couldn't find the download link on the GitHub page. No idea.
Yeah.
So nobody tells me where to download this mod at. Where's this app image? And I'm like, it's right there under releases. Like,
yes.
But
usually on the right-hand panel.
We got like this weird skill issue problem, and it's real. I've had it confirmed for me by educated people who deal with the kids coming in. They're doing the best they can, man. And I was thinking about my generation, us millennials, which is kind of a broad, there's so much wiggle room in the millennial.
Yeah, there is. I'm not a millennial, but
I'm technically a millennial, like depending on what Google or whatever you search, and like I'm like skirting it, like if you squint.
Yeah, you're just on the edge.
Our generation, your generation,
Gen X.
Yeah, like me and Jilla, we're in that part where we have to, or like really early Gen X and or like really like late boomer, that area where a lot of us fall into, we need like our own special category when it comes to computer knowledge, because we were there in the late 90s, 2000s, and we got all that, or, in maybe the early 80s, all the way up. We have that knowledge base. And I found myself, it's something I wrote one evening later this week where I was like, we're the generation that has to do tech support for the Zoomers and the Boomers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We catch it on both ends. We got to take care of because there is a deficiency in technical literacy for the young kids coming up and for the seniors in society. I'm like, well, you catch it on both ends, man.
Oh, yeah.
And
absolutely.
Jordan's even talked about this with the kid. And he's like, yeah, it's like, he has a bet. He's like, I'll quit monitoring your computer and stuff when you want to set it up yourself. Reinstall everything. It's like, nope, that's fine. I'll just live with the monitoring and you managing it. And I'm like, it's going to be interesting times.
Yes.
Interesting times indeed. How about you, Joe Bryant? Speaking of weather, right?
Yeah, speaking of weather, we are having the Pineapple Express atmospheric river apocalypse here in Southern California and all the state of California. It keeps raining and raining and raining, but we actually really need it. And what was really cool, then, this morning I woke up and there was sun. So I was happy to see the sun today. Woo! So pretty. So that was really nice. And during this atmospheric river, I've been having fun playing demos for the Steam Next Fest and adding kind of my favorite. When I play through my favorite demos, you got to make sure to hit your wish list so that you'll notified when the full game becomes available. And some of the games I've been playing, one is Eric and the Ruined Kingdom. It's really cool. It's kind of like a Monument Valley kind of game, a 3D platformer where depending on what angle you move the mouse, the structure lines up and your character goes around it. So that's been a lot of fun. And then, did you know there's a Lost in Space game coming? it's really, really quite
Is it
fun.
VR so I can play as the robot and I pretend I snap and just go around color coding?
I don't, you know what? I didn't check if it had VR support.
Dude, I really like the one thing about the movie. Who remembers the early 2000s Lost in Space movie?
Yes.
That happened. I really enjoyed the robot in that movie. I'm like, all right, I like that Robbie the robot, right?
Yeah. Well, this is actually Danger, Will Robinson. This is the takeoff of the original series of Lost in Space done in the 60s. And it's very well done, very tongue-in-cheek. And it's click and point adventure done in 3D, which is nice. It's not 2D, it's 3D. So it's really been a lot of fun. And then the characters are on point. You got the sniffling doctor, you know, and the robot, you know, shakes his arms.
I always felt bad for the doctor. The doctor's stuck on a foreign planet surrounded by a bunch of dum-dums. Yeah. And he's like, oh, I got to put up with these people. All right.
And he goes and sits in his lounge chairs and let everyone else do all the work.
He's like just trying to get away from the idiots. And he's like, all right, I don't want to be around you people. I understand that.
The pain.
It is. It's suffering.
Yes.
You build up tolerance over time. That's cool. Yeah. I got a couple that I found past couple of days. I've been going through them. We're going to be talking about more on Saturday. Linux Gamecast Weekly. Come check that out. We're going to have some picks for the demos. Linux native demos too. That is like the difficulty multiplier, I should say. I think there's 186 native Linux games on Steam Next Fest right now.
Yeah, there are.
No excuse. Except for that one guy I saw on Linux_gaming. There was a guy trying to promote his game, right? Trying to promote his game. And this is on Reddit. And people are like, man, this thing, we downloaded it. It doesn't run very well. So he kept on saying, it was like, oh, no, don't use that. Use Proton instead. It was marketing. This guy just exported a busted Linux build. So he'd be like, I got Linux, guys. Hey, come check out my game. I'm like, dude, don't do that. If you're that person, stop.
Not good.
Stop. Not a good look. Not a good look. However, what is a good look is a blast from the past. Something we probably all used at one point, or at least you've installed it due to, there's no way you can put Linux on a disk.
Yeah. So this definitely isn't Danger, Will Robinson, which is awesome. This is awesome sauce, actually. And thank you to Arthur, our advisor on Patreon, and our friend in chat for putting a story in our show suggestions on our Discord. You can do that if you become a patron. So one of my favorite mini Linux distros of all time is back. DSL, or Dang Small Linux. I'm not going to say what the D actually says at the beginning because I can't say that live on air. So let's just say Dang Small Linux. And that small Linux distro that came out in 2002, that just pulled my heartstrings and let me discover the beauty of the Fluxbox X window manager. Yeah, that is the distro where I fell in love with Fluxbox. But DSL Linux is no longer 50 megabytes and tailored to 486 computers that I used to run it on and the like. And I installed it on lots of my vintage computers here in my collection. The creator, John Andrews, states, the new goal of DSL is to put as much usable desktop distribution into an image small enough to fit on a single CD or a hard limit of 700 megabytes. This project is meant to service older computers and have them continue to be useful far into the future. So they've upped their storage game, Vin. For sure. DSL is
we
now...
kind of brought that up just a little bit in the pre-show before we even went live, man. Isn't it kind of strange? Like, we're looking at like that 700 megs, and that used to be the full Linux distro.
Yeah.
It was not that long ago, you know. We're talking like 12, 13 years ago. Like, we're like, oh, that's the small version now, huh?
Yeah. So true. So DSL is now based on the small and robust Debian-based distribution Antix Linux, which I really love. And Debian's app is now actually fully enabled, unlike the original. And it has two window managers, just like the original, Fluxbox and JWM. And it still has some of my favorite apps and web browsers from the original release of DSL Linux, including Dillo, XMMS, classic music player, Sylpheed, Vim, and Nano. And it's got lots of shiny new classic apps as well, like the Bad Wolf web browser, which I really like, Ranger, MT Paint, MPV, Tmux, Abbey Word, ZZZFM, File Manager, and LeafPad. And what's really cool, I have this long history with DSL Linux. I got to meet the creator of DSL, John Andrews, and his team back at the Southern California Linux Expo way back in 2007. And he had become a regular at that scale and the following skills. And I donated money to the DSL project, and John gave me this
He sold you some merch?
Yes, no, he actually gave me this rare DSL hat, which I forever cherish. They were not giving these out at the booths. No, he actually went home and gave me one of his own personal damn small Linux hats.
Well, great. Now I got to edit that out, Joe. And you held it up to the camera.
You knew that was going to happen. I meant dang small Linux.
Don't worry, Joe. We're going to turn you into a broadcasting professional.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. You can go ahead and download that though, right? Just right now, put it on an ISO. Can you put it on a thumb drive?
Yes, you can. It's still in alpha release, but keep checking back, and a stable one I'm sure will be showing up soon.
Now, you do have a screenshot of it, though, don't you?
Yes, I do. Yeah. So there's the screenshot with the Fluxbox. It's kind of a neat kind of steampunk kind of theme, which is really cool. And the web browser, Bad Wolf, is showing the LWDW site, our page for LWDW on linuxgamecast.com. And there's Conky running with all the stats. It's really cool. It's a really nice theme. I like this theme. And I like how it used the orange theme from Fluxbox to match the background. Pretty cool.
That's a weird blast from the past. Having a small Linux utility is important, something that you can still, but storage has changed, and it's kind of changed the focus of just how necessary it was, because it's weird to explain to somebody how cool it was to be able to boot a Linux distro, be able to get up to a busy box or something of the like with just a floppy disk. The utility of that, that was very handy. It's weird to think about when the smallest thumb drive that you can find right now is 32 gigs, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course, I'll put 19 distributions on this thing. Getting it down to 700 megs is no small task. You are making some sacrifices, so let's not. I don't want anybody to download this and install it thinking they're going to get classic old school. Not even. I don't want to say old school. This is not really meant as a desktop replacement. I want you to keep that in mind. This is still a small, low-powered PC, because you're not going to get Chrome. You're not going to get Firefox. They're not. Yeah. You can always go back and install them. You're not going to get LibreOffice. You're going to get Abbey Word. And MPV makes perfect sense. I use MPV on all my boxes. That's just what I use.
Great media player.
And you too can squint at XMMS like we all do now when it opens up and it's postage stamp, because that UI doesn't scale.
Yeah.
Trust us. That used to look dope at 800 by 600 to 1024 by 768. You're like, yeah, that's awesome, man. That's slick. Look at.
Audacious actually had a command to enlarge the interface that I used to use all the time.
Oh, man. Good times. Up next, shoving code in a vault.
Yeah. So this is actually something completely awesome. And boy, it's probably the coldest open source has ever gotten. So on February 2nd, 2020, the Arctic World Archive contained a snapshot of all the active public repositories from GitHub and preserved that data for generations to come in the Arctic Code Vault. What's awesome is that AWA is a joint initiative between, and excuse my pronunciation,
Linux is in there.
Norsk, Spitsbergen Coal Company, and a long-term digital preservation provider named PIQLAS. I'll just spell that one. So the Arctic World Archive put the GitHub data inside a sealed chamber in a decommissioned coal mine deep underground, about 250 to 300 meters. And the article states, the capture includes every repo with any commits between the announcement that GitHub Universe on November 13th, 2019 and February 2nd, 2020. Every repo was at least 1 star and any commits from the year before the snapshot, as well as all repos with at least 250 stars. And of course, as Ven just showed on the screen, Linus Torvalds Linux is one of the featured projects in the vault. One of the very important ones, huh, Ven?
It's pretty wild, man. I mean, it really is. I've taken that snapshot in 2020, just behind the scenes doing the thing, and they put it on film. They put it on film. And just not your regular, ordinary celluloid. No. This is 1,000-year hardened film that probably might last that long. We don't know, because it hasn't been around for 1,000. I love it when something says, this is going to last this long. I'm like, so you've made one 1,000 years ago? No, but hey, that's beside the point. Now, instead of pictures, they decided to go with QR codes, as they were showing in the video for our audio listeners. 186 reels is what it took to put this archive together. So you get 21 terabytes of storage out of 26 reels of film with QR codes on it. So the data density is not that high, but it should stick around for a while. And of course, with each reel, there's an index guide showing basically how to, the future humanity, how you can recover the data bits that are on the reels of film. The only thing I would take exception to, maybe the film's going to stick around for 1,000 years. The instructions to extract the data should be carved in stone.
Yeah.
Why? Let me tell you why. We know stone sticks around for 1,000 years because it's all over the place with writing on it.
Or they could make stones with QR codes on them. No.
I mean, it would be, cost prohibitive, but
yes,
that's my compromise. Like the instructions to get the data off, like put some tablets in there. You don't have to. You can use clay. Don't write it in cuneiform, but we know the longevity of that medium for storing data is top notch, even when it's just out in the open. So it's still a really cool project. I would bring it up. It's fun. Yeah, glad Jill put it in the notes now.
Yes.
One thing you might know me from is I do a bunch of audio stuff. Now, I don't do, hey, I want to play around with audio. There's plenty of people do that. I do hey, I want to set up a recording studio and I want to get to business. Like I want something that works and works good. Pro level stuff, real pro level stuff. Can you do it on Linux? Yes, you can. Always try to help out with that. And we all know about Pipewire. Pipewire's the future. Pipewire's great. It's going to be the one sound system to rule them all. And somebody, a user in the Interfacing Linux forums, we have forums over there, where if you ask me a question, I will answer your question personally. I was like, hey man, I got a Firewire interface. I'm using Pipewire. Well, we found out after a couple of back and forths, cool thing about forums, kids, you can go back and read the conversation as it's happening. And Pipewire, huh? Well, you should be able to use the FATO drivers. If you get a Firewire audio interface, why would you want one? Guess what? I did a video very recently for Interfacing Linux comparing a audio interface, a brand newish, 2019 Scarlett Gen 3 versus one from 2010 and from PreSonus. Guess what? Spec-wise, same thing. Neil hasn't moved, kids, despite what marketing and the advertisers want you to believe. We figured this analog digital conversion stuff out back in the late 90s and early 2000s, and I'll say that until I'm blue in the face. So that's why I'm so gung-ho for Firewire audio being able to keep that equipment around out of landfills, and it's still usable. It's not like you're taking a quality hit by using it. It's the same stuff. But this person wanted to use with Firewire audio interfaces, there's 2 sets of drivers. There's the ALSA stack, which is the great one. Buddy Tack created that. He's a madman. But what it lets you do is use your audio interface as a sound card. You plug it in and it just shows up like the Focusrite does. You get one of the little Scarlets or you get a Motu or whatever you got a Go Alexa, you plug it in, it shows up. Linux is good like that. Good to go.
Nice.
Those aren't the drivers you want for your pro audio, though. Firewire audio interfaces are not sound cards. They were designed as professional audio recording interfaces. They were designed to be cut in, cut on, cut in. I don't know how you do that, but if you find a way, send me a note. You cut them on and you connect them to your PC and you use your digital audio workstation. You use your DAW, you use Reaper, you use Bitwig, you use whatever, Pro Tools, Audur. That's what they're made for. That's what they were designed for. They're professional recording interfaces. They were not designed. Also sound cards watching you. No. That was never in the design spec. So when you try to make them multitask and do stuff, that you get weird effects with the ALSA stuff. They don't make very good sound cards. You can usually kind of get them to work. That was the example I did in my most recent video of holding up and like these two look an awful lot alike, but they're completely different beasts. Like one thing, that Firewire interface has a full-on DSP in it with a built-in mixer and a bunch of other advanced psychotic stuff. Focusrite's just a USB external sound card. Okay, it just happens to have a microphone input in the front of it. Different devices. Now, this person's like, but you want to use those FADO drivers to do pro recording. What the FADO drivers do is put a Firewire interface into its original mode. It's like all I do is I process. I'm capable of like starting up. I can run my mixer and I can connect to a digital audio workstation. When you're running the FADO drivers, you're not listening to YouTube videos or Spotify. You're not playing games. It doesn't even show up on the system as a sound card. And that's what this person wanted. And I said, well, Pipewire's not too bad. I think Wim even posted a thing about FADO drivers on the Pipewire page. Here, try this, try this. They tried it. I said, I can't get anything working. And of course, I got to show up. I'm like, well, let me handle it. I'll show you how to do it. It won't be a problem. It was a problem. It was a problem. So I played around with it for a little bit. This is a post I made on Twitter. I'm like, FADO loads, then crashes after a few minutes. No audio. I'll play around with it. Maybe I'll get to it. And Wim writes back. He's a creator of Pipewire. He's like, I still don't have a Firewire device to test. I'm like, oh, geez. Okay, well, I guess I need to do some testing.
Yeah.
Welcome to Interfacing Linux, kids. This is a website I've been working on, but that's exactly what I did. I did some testing, Finstone testing. So I ran it through everything you'd need to know about Pavu Control, QP Graph, how it works in the different modes. I just grabbed a Firewire interface from the stack and how you can set your sample rate and buffer size. This is something you need where you wouldn't typically ever even think about this with desktop audio, but if you're switching between sample rates and buffer sizes between sessions in your digital audio workstation, found a good script to do that from the command line so you can automate it. What type of round-trip latency differences you're going to be dealing with the ALSA drivers, they're pretty bad. But the ultimate conclusion is, how it runs with Reaper performance as well. All the digital audio workstations expect to work with ALSA or Jack. So Pipewire's got a couple of modes. Pipewire's got a mode where it can work with Jack and work with ALSA, but Pipewire's also got a thing where it can be Jack. It has its own Jackness to it. And it's pretty bad. It does function, but it's much higher latency, much higher CPU usage. So you're better using Pipewire with the Jack compatibility where it's still, just kind of hooking up with Jack. That's good. Unfortunately, after an entire day of throwing everything I knew to throw at it, I couldn't get the FADO drivers to work. And that's where we ended up in that forum post. All this will be linked in the show notes. You can kind of see us going back and forwards. We came to the same conclusion of the scaffolding's there, but it just doesn't function yet. So my recommendation, as I said in the video and in the post, is if you are the person who is fully aware, because what I don't want people to do is, you see something like that PreSonus I used in the video, it stomps a little Scarlett Solo. Those are like $99. They got one input, one output, in stereo. Like that PreSonus, again, it's got the mixer in the game. Audio quality, DSPs, way better. Well, let's just say equal. Let's just be fair. Let's just do it like that. But that PreSonus has got digital in, it's got MIDI out, it's got like 8 inputs. When you're looking at it as a recording interface and not a USB sound card, way better device. I don't want people running out and buying one of those and trying to turn it into a sound card to, use with Discord and Zoom calls and stuff. It's not going to be a great experience. But for those of you looking to record some music, people, record your voice, track a drum kit, all the fun stuff you get to do. You got a MIDI keyboard. It's got hardware MIDI built into it. Most of them do. The FADO drivers, not going to work for you on PipeWire. And those are the ones you want to be using if you're using a FireWire audio interface as a recording interface, not a sound card. So keep that in mind. And I'm going to say, yeah, because who knows? When might be able to go over to the FireWire store and pick one up.
Yeah.
And get some work done on the PipeWire project. Hit me back and you're like, we're going to take a look at it. So, just trying to look out for my brothers and sisters out there, trying to get some recording done on the budget. And good times. Go check that out if you want. You get a chance. And all the other stuff I got posted over there. Working on, I'm going to try to convince you kids. I kind of talked about it just a little bit in the pre-show. Try to convince you that a very expensive, overpriced USB capture card is not overpriced. It's still overpriced, but there's a reason for it. Stay tuned for that. What do we got up next? Oh, man, who remembers the iPod?
Yes.
I was my iPod. Wrong. I was so wrong about the iPod. I had to admit it back in the day. If you're going to be right about stuff, you need to be able to be wrong about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody trusts anybody who's always right all the time. When that came out, and I said, that was silly. Apple announced it, kind of like we all saw the, what is the new Apple VR toaster thing called? The thing you put on your head.
Studio Pro. What do you call it? Vision.
Is it the Vision? Okay,
Pro.
Maybe it's called the Vision
Pro.
That's stupid.
I always forget the name of that thing, even though I've been talking about it a lot.
I saw it right there, Vision Pro. All right. Yeah, I saw that. I'm like, that's dumb. Said the same thing when I read my first little announcement about the iPod. I'm like, that's stupid. Don't nobody want that. Don't nobody need that. We already had Nomad hard drive players. We have Rios from Diamond. We're like, we're good, man. We got all these MP3 players. And like, Apple's making that thing so expensive compared to all the other ones too. And it was a FireWire device. Who's got FireWire? True story, kids. And I was wrong, man. I'm like, hey, am I going to buy that? Everybody bought one.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody bought one. I still didn't buy one. I was that edgelord. I'm like, whatever. I'm going to. Did I ever buy one of the hard drive? I might have. I don't remember. It was too long ago.
Oh.
Anyway, if you want to revisit that, maybe you didn't buy an iPod at the time, or maybe you wanted something iPod-like, or maybe you do now. I want to tell you about this. Tangara.
Yeah.
It's on Crowd Supply. So what is it? You're thinking about it, man. It's open source iPod-inspired portable music player. Now, why would you want that in 2024? Those of you who might want to listen to music on the go without the distraction of a mobile device sending you push notifications. Did I mention it's completely open hardware and open software? 300 people have already backed this, so the campaign is good. They've pledged $135,000. You can reserve one right now for $249 if you want to get one pre-made, which I think is pretty neat. Now, out of the box, you're going to get 3.5 millimeter, your standard headphone jack, Bluetooth, which should be upgradable in the future, via software-defined radio, Wi-Fi 4, USB-C for charging. Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty really cool. I mean, I actually had a first-gen iPod back in the day, Vin, and later on, I ended up putting Linux on it. But this is really sweet. If it has the classic dial, which makes navigating through music titles very easily, and it supports MP3, FLAC, OGG, Opus, and more audio codec support is on the way.
It's got that old Apple wheel on it too.
It does, yeah. And the Tangara actually features a Cirrus Logic WM8523 digital audio converter and a TI INA 1620 amplifier for high quality audio. And you can print your own case in whatever color you want.
I want to give them a little bit of credit. I'm looking at the green and pink ones. Like, they don't have any shade. They're straight 3D printed these, and like they even include in the video the knackered ones, like the ones that had some bad prints on them. They're like, yeah, things happen, man. The little pink one's kind of messed up. The green one's a little knackered on its left side.
Yeah, and it's got Lewis scripting
C++,
support.
full-size SD card up to 2 terabytes, and yeah, you can't go wrong with that. I don't mind stuff like that. Build it yourself, really carry it around. Right. Put the really map logo on the back of it.
And it's competitive too. I was looking at the prices of the high-end music players on Amazon, and they range about around $100 to $200, but you don't get to make your own custom case and build it yourself.
Well, I mean, if you spend $249 for this, you don't do any of that either. They just ship you one.
Yeah, you can do that too.
So if you want to spend $249, if you want to get the parts, I'll have to go dig around for the parts list, but you're probably looking at like, if you already got a 3D printer, you're probably looking at like $70, $80 in parts.
Yeah.
That's not going to be too bad if you want to get old MacGyver. DIY. Good times. I wanted to give that a mention. High quality audio. So if you want to carry that around, and I like that they mentioned like you can 3D print or you can CNC.
Yeah, which is really nice, which means you can like print an aluminum case. As Artherin was suggesting in chat.
Get to smelting, kids.
Yeah.
All right. We're running a little bit long, but I want to thank everybody for showing up. If you like what we do and you're like, hey, man, these clowns are kind of cool. They're kind of fun. Get a kick, share the show. Give us a repost, retweet, tell some people about it. I'm like, you want to make it a bigger commitment. We have a Patreon. If you want to support us, we give you a bunch of stuff back. The live and uncut versions of these shows delivered to you the same day. We got a commercial-free version of this show. If YouTube's getting crazy and you don't want to deal with ad blockers, I'll give you even higher quality video than you're going to get on YouTube. That's exclusive for our Patreon subscribers. Access to our Discord. Me and Jill are doing Trackmania on Tuesdays and Fridays. We got a gang of people that show up. 14 new maps. If you like little racing games, or if you just like a bunch of Linux nerds to hang out with, we got you covered. We'd love to have you doing that. Couple other things in there. Just go check it out. Patreon.com/Linux Gamecast. We would appreciate it. Mm-hmm. All right. That's going to wrap us up. And speaking of the people who make the show possible, let's go ahead.
So many people to thank.
And roll them credits.
Of course, our advisor, Artherin, who's in chat now, and Omegas. We got our executive producers, Barbrandt, Scott M, Atomic, Mike G, our Chicago Kicks people, Level, Super Dust Out, Empty, Blasphemia. Our sea monsters, Ronald, L, Veritanuda, David. And yeah, I can't read them fast enough. And I don't have good enough vision when the names get small because there's so many awesome people to thank. I'm sorry. I can't beautiful do people. When Jordan do every Saturday.
We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. But yeah, it's fun when you and Jordan and Pedro go through all the names.
I mean, Katana, you're technically correct. Yes, sodium is a metal. I'll give you that.
Many peeps, huh, Steve Husband?
All right, recording, stop. Boop. And let's get that saved. And kick over to the after show. Pre-shows on, after shows on. There we go. Yeah, the only thing I've ever wanted to do with a chunk of sodium is like toss it in water and run. That's about as far as I've ever gotten. Na, natrium. The atomic number 11 is going to mess your day up if you get it wet. They're like gizmos, like gremlins. Don't get them wet.
Yes.
Or let loose of all of its kinetic energy. I don't know. You did, Steve. You did.
Oh, yeah. Go back and watch that. I only messed up once, Ben. Are you?
I mean, it's not going to be in the show, so.
Yeah. He's going to beep it out.
I'm not going to cut around it.
Well, showing the hat isn't too bad. It's the saying it.
We're not going to say the word damn, and we're not going to hold up something with damn written on it. Arch is still kind of small, though. Are people still running around saying Manjaro is still not Arch? Are we still angry at that? I don't know what they are. Alpine? What's got the smallest, like, well, I don't even think about, like, smallest now. Because, like, what are we talking about? Like, the installer? Like, but I use net installers, too. I think the real question that you got to get into is, like, what is the best full-featured Linux distribution that you can get a workable, usable system? Alpine's small enough, but we're not talking about server. We're talking about desktop.
Oh yeah, Crunchbang is still around. Actually, it's called Crunchbang ++ now. Yeah, it's still around. It uses the open box window manager. I love Crunchbang too. Yeah, there's a couple spin-offs of it, but one is Crunchbang ++, and then there's another one too. Forgetting the name of it. Yeah, Puppy's still around. The Slackware version, a Debian version, and an Ubuntu version. Still making them.
Yeah, like things have definitely changed over the years. Like all the old distributions.
Yeah, it came back. Yeah, it was gone for a while, and then
they're not what they used to be. They're even like DSL Linux, man. Like it's not DSL Linux. It's this other distribution that they've trimmed out. You know, it's not like built from the core up anymore. You know, it's not completely homegrown.
Yeah.
Or like based on something else. But I mean, it's kind of what I was talking about during the show now. Like space isn't a problem anymore. Like unless you're like on embedded, nobody's worried about space anymore. Like I'm not worried about space anymore.
Live at MinLaurel, the other distribution I just checked Google is Bunsen Labs. That one started because Crunchbang had stopped development, and then Bunsen Labs came along, and then Crunchbang came back and revived it, their original. So there's two.
I would argue on startup times, man. Like I'm still programmed to got a computer on and go do something. Like when I come in here and I start everything up. And like the main box I start in here is the Threadripper. And like I cut it on, cut the monitors on, and I go make tea. I don't need to go make tea. This thing's booted and ready to go before I sit down. But it's that habit, right?
Yeah.
And coming from, you know, just it's like it used to be one at a time, especially on Linux, dude. It'd take like a minute or two to get just command prompt. Then you brought it back. Yeah, things are crazy now. Like that's why I've never bothered with like why do I want to introduce like the headache and nightmare and other weird little problems and gremlins that you get when you hibernate and suspend PCs? Like it's about the same to just cold boot them now. Like, are you really saving that much time? Is the like weird funkiness that you encounter occasionally like worth it? If it is, cool, keep doing you. Just not for me. Does what from time to time? What's it do? Don is just making his guess.
Update Gen 2.
Mm. I'm still always surprised people still have their run in Gento. Gento's so sold out, man. You can download binaries, man.
They've had the ability to install those for a while, but it was they made them easier to install. They have their own now.
Official ones.
Yeah.
As long as you have AMD 64 and ARM 64. And 20 gigs of packages are available on the mirrors. That's another great one. I run Debian and everything, man.
Oh,
like
thank you, Cousin Lisa.
I think after we crawled over like the 2 gigahertz mark, I started caring significantly less about compiler flags and optimizations. That's something I think about. Like this machine right here, it's low power, chilling out, not doing anything. Clock frequency, it's 2.1 gigahertz. It's not doing anything. I squeeze as much performance as possible. Again, you're talking to somebody who's running Debian that's been stripped down with XFCE, but that's as far as I'm going to take it. I might throw some flags in when I'm building OBS, but that's about it. Nothing on the in kernel. But again, how many people build kernels these days? Like outside of the kernel developers.
Yeah.
That's a rare one. SBCs, maybe. There's definitely a way better case for single board computers if you're doing stuff from that. It's just, as long as everything runs, I'm fine with it. As long as you're happy with whatever. Like, no matter what distribution you're running, however you got it configured, somebody's going to tell you you're running the wrong thing. If it works for you, just keep using it. Simple as that. But yeah, I don't spend time on Gen X. All right.
Yeah, you're the same generation as me, Lisa, even though you're older. It's part of the same. Yeah.
Gen X has got a spread on 20 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always weird to be like right at the edge of whatever generation is like, because that's where I'm at. Like I can be,
I know,
like either one. But yeah, I'm worried about kids. Technical literacy. It's apparently dove off a cliff. That's scary. You got an entire generation coming up that doesn't know what folders are. Think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Never owned a PC.
Yeah.
Don't want to buy one. None. And that's where we're going to be going. Like it or not, I think I talked about it on Saturday a couple of weeks ago. Like the future is, what's his, Linus? Not that one.
Linus Tech Tips.
The squeaky one.
Linus Sebastian.
He did a review of a gaming phone that came with gaming phone attachments, like coolers that you could click on to help keep it at a stable frame rate. That was a very early look at the dark future of where gaming's going. That's where that's where most of the gaming takes place right now. Out in our bubble, we don't realize it. Like that's where pretty much all the gaming takes place. Like we're a little tiny rounding error compared to mobile gaming. All of PC gaming combined, not Linux gamers.
Yeah.
All of PC gaming combined. You know what? Let's just throw the consoles on there. Then we're slightly larger rounding error compared to the mobile gaming market. And, it's going to be harder and harder and harder to do, because if you want a low-end, mid-range GPU right now, you got to spend $500.
Yep.
For a video card. And what are they marketing with a $500? 1080p gaming. That's what they're marketing right now for $500. You're a teenager, you're young, preteen, whatever, you're saving up, summer jobs. Like, that's not in your budget, man.
Yeah.
That's not. What are you going to do? I might as well just get a mobile phone. Play some games. Get an Xbox.
Yeah, the nice thing about, I was just reading a really good article about what, Chromebooks for kids is doing, and it's good for us in the Linux world, is because now kids are growing up with not needing to know the Windows that their parents used or their grandparents used, and they don't care what OS it is, as long as it's a device that's easily movable. And most of those have Linux on them, so
they got Linux on them, but they're using Chrome OS, so they're still functionally tech illiterate as they would be.
Yeah, but the nice thing is they can install, Linux apps easily now, and that's kind of helping penetration of that, because they're learning that they don't need Windows to install this open source software.
And that's why I never get wound up about Linux on the desktop. Desktop's dying. Desktop has been in steady decline. Even us right now, if you're at home and you got a gaming PC or you got a work PC, how many people outside of your tech bubble still have a PC at their house? You might have a laptop. They got an iPad.
Yeah, a lot of people have laptops.
They don't have a rig. We're in a minority.
Yeah.
We're just too insulated in our little bubble to see it. Forest for the trees. We don't want to. We're like, la, 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 la. No, everybody's still got PCs at home. This is still the 90s. It's not, you got to have that mixed friend group. They don't have PCs at their house. If they got one, that hasn't been cut on in 10 years. It's moving to that. So it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, we're going to be moving to a Chrome OS type and Android, iOS. Yeah. That's going to be computing. It's weird, man.
Well, I know in Japan, of course, they were a little behind when it came to the using PCs, because they were mostly console gamers, and that is changing dramatically now, which is good. So they're getting more exposure. Yeah, Arthur. Not taking my rig away from me.
I hope.
No, Lisa, you're not ancient. That's good.
Oh, Lisa, we're all old. we're just young for our age, though. Mentally, that's how we get away with it.
Yeah.
This is why I also don't sit and hate on Squeaky Linus. I give them crap from when they do dumb stuff. They've clearly done some very extraordinarily dumb stuff, and they should have been called out on it. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah.
But techtainment channels. Mm-hmm. The vast majority of people that watch these types of YouTube channels are never going to build a PC. They don't have a PC, but they want to watch somebody else do it. The same reason people watch people stream games. They're like, I'm never going to play that game, but I'm going to watch it. I'm like, yeah, it's entertainment. And they want, you want that one day, but every now and then the right person watches that and they watch it long enough and they're like, you know what? I'm building a PC, man.
Yeah. And
that's how you get them. No, don't hate on the entertainment crowd doing that as well. Then that's a solution though. I don't watch Linus Tech Tips, but I'm I don't have any hatred for it, because other people like it and it does good, and it gets people interested in tech, and that's what I'm here for.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something the techies, our gamers, our circles get smaller, so we're gonna have to quit pretending that we don't like each other. It's gonna be a rough transition. Like this whole Xbox PlayStation thing. People still hung up on that. Last time I cared about it's like on the playground arguing about Mega Drive versus Super Nintendo. People, because Xbox has got an announcement and there was like, oh no, they're going to start releasing their games that aren't going to be Xbox exclusives anymore. They're going to be on PlayStation. The world is going to crumble. Who cares? As long as it gets more people playing games. Yeah, Nintendo don't care, man. Nintendo's going to be Nintendo about like whatever. They don't care. They're just going to continue doing whatever Nintendo does, man. No, they march to the beat of their own accordion or whatever they got going on over there. But yeah, like people are still trying to be tribal about PlayStation versus Xbox. And like the latest Xbox is effectively the TurboGrafx 16 of this generation. It's very much in third place compared to the Switch and the PS5. Microsoft's got to do something. They're not going to put Game Pass on PlayStation, though, because PlayStation's already got its own version of Game Pass, and they don't want you to compete there. Give me, But then we get into the whole argument about, like, should you own all your games? Are you the person who wants to have a physical copy of every video game that you buy?
That's a little hard to do these days, unless you only buy from GOG.
I mean, physical version.
Yeah.
Not just digital. Like, you go to the store. Well, you can't even really do that with PC gaming anymore.
Yeah, it
just doesn't exist.
Unless you find old stuff, old right, stock somewhere.
You start collecting stuff, right? Or to what Joe was saying, like, if you want to own the game and like download it and you keep it forever, you don't worry about it. And I forget, it might have been like an Ubisoft executive. I'm sure somebody in chat's going to hit me up real quick on that. That said people need to get used to not owning your games.
Yeah.
And they were talking about things like Game Pass. And like maybe Ubisoft wants to do like, hey, play all the Ubisoft games. I'm like, I've already played an Assassin's Creed game. I've played all your games effectively. And I say this as I'm currently playing an Ubisoft game. I'm not against that idea. I think the only way I bump up against things like Game Pass is if that becomes the only option, right? Mm-hmm. Which I don't think, because I've said before, and I will continue saying this. If Valve had Valve Pass for $20 a month, they got, a couple of hundred games and they rotate it out every couple of months or whatever, I'd give them $20 a month in a heartbeat. Let developers opt into it. It's not mandatory. Like, hey, if we opt in, you get a cut, whatever. That doesn't hurt anybody. You still got the option to like download the game. Like, cool, let's go. More choices.
I think actually that would be cool. You have choice.
Yeah. And like archiving games and stuff like that, and you go back to play them, like, oh, do I want this 106 gig download of Shadow of War that I downloaded 6 years ago?
Yeah.
Or do I want the current version with all the patches and stuff? Well, I'm probably just going to download that again. Like old stuff, it makes sense. I don't keep a lot of games on my drives, man. Like, if I had limited bandwidth or if I was on metered bandwidth, maybe, but like for the vast majority of us.
Yeah, like I'm the same, because you can just download it in less than a minute or 2 minutes.
Right.
That's what fast internet gets you.
Yeah, just keep your stuff. Like, and everybody's got their own opinions on this, and nobody's right. No one, if you're trying to pretend you're right or wrong, like, that's silly. Quit being silly. I, for no particular reason, just immediately flocked over to, because I had Frank and Nass. I used to do the Myth TV, and I used to set up, but then again, that was the only way to watch it back then.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
If you wanted to have a Plex server or Proto-Plex server before Plex was a thing, or now you're going to say Jellyfin or something to that effect, you had to do that. You don't have to do that. And for me, it was just the convenience, and like, yeah, I subscribe to a bazillion streaming services, but like, whatever. Like, then again, that's not a big part of my day. It's easy for me to say TV and stuff like that is like mild background music, entertainment type stuff. So if it's not for you, if it's like, this is all I do when I get home as I watch TV, like, then it might be, you might still want to set that up. But yeah, I immediately went, same thing with music, man. Like my music, I listen, I got the YouTube Premium.
Yeah, stream it.
Put that on the background and say, okay, go. Play me genre. And it just goes on a tear and we're good. Oh. Yeah.
Streaming has made our lives a lot easier, that's for sure. You don't have to own as much physical media, or if you do own it, you don't have to get it out of the archives just to listen to a certain song or play a movie. And
but Joe, really what do we do when the power and internet goes down? We got bigger problems.
Yeah.
That's what we do. We start looking for food and water. Oh, man. I've had that argument with the UGA law professor that still to this day makes the students go to the law library, pull up references and stuff like that. I'm like, why are you doing that to him? Why are you doing that to him? It's a friend of a friend. Like, we're very social with each other. And they're like, well, they need to know how to do that in case the internet goes down. Like, I'm like, dude, if that happens, people ain't going to be practicing law, homie. We're going to be going to like Mad Max real quick. Like, there's not going to be a judicial and legal system like firmly in place right there, right? Like, you got about a month before things start getting a little Mad Maxy. Then it's just downhill from there.
Oh, Arthur, and I feel for you. The problem is I have amassed such a huge collection of CDs. Me and my husband have several thousand CDs, vinyl records, and cassettes, and I mean separately several thousand. So it's storage is a problem now. But I still sometimes, for my favorite artists, do buy the actual CDs off Amazon or eBay or whatever. And yeah, because I like to have the physical media sometimes.
I can see like buying like the record if you want like the art, to support whoever, right?
Yeah.
I bought the let me make sure. Do I even have that? Where my Google photo?
Yeah, Art, there, when I was doing my radio show, I have every radio show I've ever done for over 16 years. That's every week, like 4 cassette tapes every week. Insane. And then all the radio shows I used to listen to, and then that with all my pre-recorded music and whatnot. It's a huge collection, and I refuse to get rid of it. A lot of it can't be found on the internet.
Are you going to do any process to have it digitized before it is not recoverable?
Well, I have some of my favorite shows I've backed up on digital form, but it takes a lot of time to do it.
That's you got to do it in real time.
Yeah. Well, they do have, actually, I did have a cassette tape, a duper that would do it in high speed.
You can do speed dupe, but you're going to take a quality hit when you do that.
Yeah. But for audio, it's okay, usually.
You're still going to take out, like, speed dupes, like, they're convenient. Like, if you just need to make a quick dupe or something, but, like, for archival.
Oh, yeah, no.
I wouldn't use it.
I'm OCD about my archiving, as you know, Ben. So that's not usually
I'm just
a problem.
letting you know because you said you were doing that, so.
I only do that with certain, like, ones that don't matter to me as much, that I just want to have on hand.
Oh, the last record I bought was this guy.
Ah, okay.
That was my last vinyl purchase, and I think that might be my first. No, I probably bought some other. I bought the Near Replicant soundtrack, which was pretty good. Don't have a record player though.
We have many of those in this house.
I do have the Nier Automata soundtrack, but I have that digitally because that's the way I want it,
Yeah, so true. Live are Minlayer. I do have a collection of cassettes that's archivists have been wanting copies of. So there might be someday I might go back and archive those, but it's going to take a lot of time.
Let's give them to archive.org.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm being dead serious. Like, they want stuff like that.
Yeah, but these are shows that have license issues and whatnot, so I couldn't do that.
It's archive.org. They don't care.
Well, no, but the original people who created it would, especially if it's one of the major radio stations. So.
No, I mean, like, they got waivers for, like, that's how they're able to archive all the commercials and stuff.
No, I know, shows. But that is not allowed yet by this. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, if it's like, what does it have on it? Like, what? I'm confused as to like what would. Yeah, I'm curious.
Okay, so the world's longest running science fiction radio show here in Los Angeles. They have all the greats on from Sci-Fi.
Oh no, I'm talking about like the stuff that like your broadcast.
Oh my!
Not just recording radio.
Yeah, no, my broadcast, yes. Because especially now, because the station that I did that on doesn't exist anymore. So, but I had the right to do it anyways because I was one of the people who ran it. Yeah, I have thought about that. And I do have I had some clips on my old website from years ago. Actually, I had full shows because I used to snail mail them, do dupes and snail mail them to Germany, and they would play them on some of the local radio stations there. And those I do have digital backups of.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah,
that's important. Show. Like, so much stuff gets lost, and that's like, I forget his name. It's given a couple of talks at archive.org, like how important it is, because what happens is people are.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to get around to it, and they never get around to it, and they die. And all the stuff you accumulated of value to you, like, people like, trash.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it just gets lost, man.
I know. My problem is finding time to do all that stuff. It's just, it takes hours. Steve and I have backed up a lot of our precious vinyl that you can no longer get. It's extremely rare that you can't even find on the internet. We've backed up a lot of that. But it's just having the time to do it. Oh. When you have thousands, it's just overwhelming. You look at your collection and you're like, oh God.
Well, like, yeah, especially stuff that you have, that's why you got to do triage. Like, out of thousands and thousands and thousands, there's going to be a small percentage of stuff that isn't widely available.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say, yeah.
Definitely with like vinyl. You just buy vinyl because you like the artwork. Because, I mean, the vinyl's being cut from a digital master that was recorded digitally. Like, and vinyl is a crap format for audio anyway. Any audio engineer will tell you that. Vinyl was the cassette tape of its day. It wasn't high fidelity. And still not. You gotta make some serious design choices when you're cutting vinyl to make it listenable. Some sacrifices. All right, everybody. I gotta get to work. Speaking of audio stuff. I gotta transmogrify the digital stuff into more digital stuff and other digital stuff. Then take those data bits and distribute them.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's one of the cool things about getting older, Live It, is lossless doesn't matter anymore. You can't hear it anyway. One of the advantages. All right, beautiful people. Have a great rest of your weekend. Thank you for that, Arthur. And George will be back tomorrow with something. I don't know what.
Nice.
See what he gets into. Who knows?
Oh, yeah, Katana. I still have my DVD and Blu-ray player. And, of course, on the computers, I have DVD burners, CD burners.